So good afternoon, one and all, and good afternoon to our speaker, Professor Suresh Chandra Patel. And currently, Professor Patel is the controller of examination, Odisha State Open University, Sambalpur. And earlier, he was part of our department, and I was, his colleague. And uh, when I have said it in earlier, and also I'm repeating today. When I entered to the department, I in fact entered to his chamber. So that nostalgic or nostalgia, it is there in my mind. And before I entered to Sambalpur University, I also heard about his name. And subsequently, I realized why I heard about his name. And I used to say him, sir, you have a mind. And if you exercise that mind can do wonders. And we can make our department like Center for Political Studies of JNU, because that mind is there with him. And that's a different thing why he did not use that mind. That's a different thing. There are also many scholars in Odisha. They have a very good and solid mind, but that mind has not been used in academics. Okay, so as a colleague, I know it very well that Professor Patel, uh, he has keen interest in the issues of human rights. And whenever there is any opportunity to speak on either National Human Rights Commission or State Human Rights Commission or the generation of human rights, he always feels thrilled, right? So earlier he gave a talk on National Human Rights Commission, and today I requested him to give a talk on State Human Rights Commission. And so far my knowledge is concerned, State Human Rights Commission works under the National Human Rights Commission, right? But there are some questions. I mean, what is the difference in the functioning of the National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission? Any conflict between National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission? So these are some of the questions that is coming to our mind. And so far as the constitution of both these commission, National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission, is there any difference? And in a crisis, which should prevail upon whom? An individual, how he can approach to the State Human Rights Commission? And if that individual is not satisfied, then how he can go to the National Human Rights Commission to appeal against the State Human Rights Commission? Can we think that it is just like High Court and Supreme Court? So these are some of the questions that comes to our mind, right? And hopefully Professor Patel will address to these questions in his deliberation, and give us a clear picture that State Human Rights Commission is a distinct body, but it comes under the National Human Rights Commission, and how the interaction between the National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission takes place. So these are some of the questions, and with these questions, I welcome Professor Patel to start his deliberation, and I request him to address the questions what I have raised in the very beginning, and if I have spelled anything wrong, he can also correct me. So let's listen to Professor Patel. Now I welcome you, sir, and I request you to start your deliberation. You have to unmute, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Good afternoon to you personally and all the students who are a part of this deliberation. I am really happy that I have been given another opportunity to interact with the students, and that too on an area in which I enjoy most, that is the State Human Rights Commission and maybe human rights in general. In fact, I will be deliberating on the State Human Rights Commission, and my presentation will be divided into three parts. First part, I will be speaking certain things about the composition, the requirements of the State Human Rights Commission. The second part, I will speak on the functions of the State Human Rights Commission. And the third part, I will be speaking on the role of the State Human Rights Commission. Though primarily the topic I have been asked to deliver on is the State Human Rights Commission functions and role. But still, I thought that it would be better. And today, Dr. Mishra also said that what is the differences or what are the differences between the National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission so far as their composition is concerned, or their appointment or their removal or whatever is related to both of them, or if there is any conflict of interest or there is a conflict of jurisdiction, or if there is anything in contravene between the two. So I will be speaking on all the three parts. Let me start with the first part, the requirement and what is the State Human Rights Commission. You see, I have been always pointing out that this is an era of human rights. When you speak today, when you are, I am speaking to you, I am addressing to you. This is an era of human rights, and you can't neglect human rights in any way. Either you talk democracy or you take development or you are talking of human anything, you have to come to the human rights. That is true that today we are having debate and discussion all over the world, and the importance of human rights you can understand from what is happening in Russia and Ukraine war, due to Russia and Ukraine war, and more recently you will find the Israel and the Hamas conflict. So that is sufficient to say that human rights today is the most important thing we have to deliberate on. But now the question is, this is in the global context actually. When you talk in terms of the Indian context, what has happened is that I have told you while deliberating on National Human Rights Commission that by the year 90 and 91, India, as you know, has always been an aspirational country. We have been a ambitious country. We were, we are, and probably we will remain an ambitious country in future also. So in the year 1991, you will find the Indian politicians or the Indian political system and everybody, the people, we wanted that we should be given a more important place in the world affairs. And it was at that point of time the global community, including Russia and the Western power, they pointed out that you Indians, you are claiming that you want to be a permanent member and all that you are talking of, but first take care of your human rights situation. And it was in this context you will find the central government passed an act, that is the Protection of Human Rights Act in 1993. And that was the beginning of a strong importance on human rights debate and discussion in India. And the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 made provision for three things. First, it made provision for the creation of a National Human Rights Commission. You know, there is a National Human Rights Commission in India, headquartered at New Delhi, and I have already taken a class on the functions and role of the National Human Rights Commission. So there is no need of further debate on that. Secondly, you will find, as you know, one commission, there was a problem in the Indian democracy. One commission having its headquarters in New Delhi may not take care of the whole country of India. We are a great country, we are a country of great size, having 130 crores people all over the country, and one commission having 8 or 9 members sitting at New Delhi may not take care of the whole population of India. And there was the necessity of more commissions in India. And this resulted in the creation of State Human Rights Commission. And for your information, today we are having 26 State Human Rights Commission all over the country. 26 states, they have created the State Human Rights Commission, including your state in Odisha. In Odisha, you will find we have also got a State Human Rights Commission since 2003. On 11/7/2003, you will find the Odisha State Human Rights Commission is started functioning. So this is the background in which the State Human Rights Commission was created. And regarding its composition, you will find there is a difference between the composition of the National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission. The National Human Rights Commission, in comparison to the State Human Rights Commission, you will find is a bigger body. There are 8 members in the National Human Rights Commission. But so far as the State Human Rights Commission are concerned, it is a multi-member body, but it consists of only one chairperson and 2 other members. Remember, so we have got only 3 members so far as the State Human Rights Commission are concerned. And so far as the chairperson is concerned, a person who has been a Chief Justice of a High Court or a judge of a High Court is eligible to become the one chairperson. And so far as the other 2 members are concerned, you will find one member can become a retired or sitting judge of a district court, but he must be eligible for having a district judge. And the third one is from a person who has repeated or renowned academic contribution or any contribution in the field of protection and promotion of human rights. So the chairperson must be a retired judge or chief judge or of a high court, and the other 2 members, one is from academic background who can be of renowned of great importance, that is number 1, and another person, a sitting or a retired district judge, can be members. So this is the small composition of the State Human Rights Commission. But actually these 3 human rights commission members are appointed on the recommendation of a committee. So there is a committee has to be set up, and the chairman of the committee is the Chief Minister of the state. And this committee also consists of the Speaker of the Vidhan Sabha, that is State Legislative Assembly, then the leader of the opposition in the Vidhan Sabha, then the leader of the opposition. If in any state, if there is state legislative council, in Odisha, you know that is not that we don't have a state legislative council, but there are 8 states in the country where we are having state legislative council, that is Vidhan Parishad. So wherever there is Vidhan Parishad or state legislative council, the leader of the opposition of the state legislative council, he is also a member of the committee. So first of all, you have Chief Minister, then you have the Speaker of Vidhan Sabha, then you have got leader of the opposition in the Vidhan Sabha, then leader of the opposition in case there is state legislative council, and of course there is another member, that is Home Minister of the State Legislative Assembly, and the last one is the chairperson of the State Legislative Council wherever they exist. As I was repeating, and I am again repeating, that we don't have state legislative council in all states of the country. So wherever there is state legislative council, you remember that the state legislative council also becomes a part of the committee that recommends the appointment of the chairperson and other 2 judges of the state human rights commission, that is there. And you remember, when you speak of the appointment of the chairperson and other members of the State Human Rights Commission, for your information, the governor appoints the chairperson and other 2 members of the State Human Rights Commission on the recommendation of the committee I was mentioning. But again I am repeating, there is a difference between the appointment of chairperson and other members of State Human Rights Commission on the one hand, and the chairperson and other members of the National Human Rights Commission. You know, the chairperson and other members of the National Human Rights Commission, they are appointed by the President of India. Remember, they are appointed by the President of India. But in case of the State Human Rights Commission, they are appointed by the governor on the recommendation of the committee headed by the Chief Minister of the state. So that is one of the basic difference so far as the appointment is concerned. And what is more important is that here again you will find there is another contradiction, that the judges or the chairperson of the State Human Rights Commission can be removed only by the president. You see the situation. They are appointed by the governor, but they can only be removed by the president of India. And of course, this is similar to the National Human Rights Commission. You know, the chairperson and other members of the National Human Rights Commission are both appointed and can be removed by the President of India. But so far as the State Human Rights Commission is concerned, though they are appointed by the governor, they can only be removed by the President of India. In other words, the governor cannot remove the chairperson or other members of the State Human Rights Commission. That is one of the major differences so far as the composition of the State Human Rights Commission on the one end and the National Human Rights Commission on the other end is concerned. Then you will find there are certain other things, their salaries, their allowances, and their whatever benefits they derive, they all are charged from the Consolidated Fund of India, or they are paid from the Consolidated Fund of India, and they cannot be varied, they cannot be changed to their disadvantage. There cannot be reduction. Whatever salary they are getting, whatever allowances they are getting, whatever benefits they are deriving, they cannot be taken against their background, or they cannot go against their disadvantage. That you must remember, because they all are coming from the Consolidated Fund of India, and they cannot be reduced. That is another important thing so far as the salary and other privileges of the judges and the other members are concerned. So you remember, this is what is actually the composition. This portion is the composition of the State Human Rights Commission. Initially I was not interested to speak more on that. This portion actually I should have debated more on the functions and role, but there are some differences, and also Dr. Mishra pointed out that there should be some references about the composition, and if there is any differences between the two. Therefore, I just throw some light on the composition portion of the State Human Rights Commission. Of course, I will end by saying the first part, that the judges, their term or their tenure of office is 70 years or 3 years of service, whichever is earlier. Remember, they retire at the age of 70, or they have the maximum tenure of 3 years, whichever is earlier. So that is what is about the first part, the composition portion of the judges of the State Human Rights Commission. I am not talking it more. I will not take more time on this part. Coming to the second part of the discussion, functions of the State Human Rights Commission. First of all, as a student of human rights or as a teacher of human rights, I was also sometimes thinking that what could be probably the differences between the functions of the National Human Rights Commission and the functions of the State Human Rights Commission. Probably they might be same, or there may not be major differences between the two. But let me begin this by telling you that in the beginning, when you talk about the functions of the State Human Rights Commission, we must remember that so far as our constitution is concerned, we are having three lists. We have got union list, we have got state list, and we have got concurrent list. That you must know. And when you talk of the State Human Rights Commission, one of the important thing that you must remember is that the State Human Rights Commission has got its power or jurisdiction or the functional area only in cases of two lists. That is, whatever items are mentioned in the state list and also in the concurrent list. There are certain items, which are mentioned in the state list, and the State Human Rights Commission has got all the power, all the jurisdiction to operate on the items which are mentioned in the state list. And so far as concurrent list is concerned, concurrent list means it is a combination of both the state government and the central government. Both of them have the power, and so far as their area of operation is concerned, that both of them operate. And in case of conflict, as you know, the central government, that is the National Human Rights Commission, will prevail if there is a conflict between a decision or a function of the State Human Rights Commission on the one end and the National Human Rights Commission on the other end, if there is any conflict or if there is any differences between the two. So therefore, you must remember one major limitation of the State Human Rights Commission is that they cannot do anything on the items which are given in the union list. And as a student of political science, you must be knowing that union list has got a number of items, and not only they have got a large number of items, they have also got important items like, for example, defense or foreign affairs or coinage like this. So therefore, important items and a large number of items are included in the union list. And when you talk of the powers and functions of the State Human Rights Commission, we must start by acknowledging these weaknesses of the State Human Rights Commission, that you will find that the State Human Rights Commission cannot do anything so far as the matters of the union list are concerned. That is one major drawback. But having said this, I will be uh, throwing some light on what are the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission. Let me start by point wise. Let me tell you the first one. The first and the most important function of the State Human Rights Commission is that it has the power to investigate or inquire. It can carry out investigation or it can carry out inquiry. What investigation about what, or inquiry about what? Investigation about violation of human rights. Remember, let me tell you that this function which I am telling is equal to the National Human Rights Commission. This function is also in case of National Human Rights Commission, but the area of operation is different. In case of the National Human Rights Commission, the area of operation is the whole country, but in case of the State Human Rights Commission, you remember the area of operation is the state only. But having said that, you remember the first and the most important function of the State Human Rights Commission is to carry out investigation. And what investigation? Investigation about violation of human rights. So if there is any violation throughout this, for example, when you are talking of the Odisha State Human Rights Commission, if there is any violation in Odisha, then the first and the most important task or function of the State Human Rights Commission of Odisha is to see that whether violation has taken place or not. Then you will find how to ascertain that whether the violation has taken place or not, or how to get the information. And the answer is the State Human Rights Commission can conduct investigation out in two ways. What are they? Number one, it can start investigation out of its own information or suo motu. Suo motu, it can start investigation. Suppose the State Human Rights Commission, the State
Sir, any problem you are facing?
no, just a phone call came to you. Am I
Okay,
okay?
came to
Am I okay, Raul? Right now, am I okay? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Hello?
audible.
Okay. Then you will find there are two ways of conducting this investigation. Number one, out of its own information system or out of media or out of any information, the State Human Rights gets an information that there is some violation of human rights. Let us take in our Sambalpur University. Then out of its own interest, the State Human Rights Commission also can conduct the investigation. That is number one. And what is the other way? The other way is that if someone is giving an information and coming to the State Human Rights Commission and giving an information that I heard, that I know that there is violation of human rights in certain parts of the state or this part of the state or in this institution or somewhere, then also it can start investigation. So therefore, the number one and the first and the most important function of the State Human Rights Commission, which is of course equal, almost equal to the National Human Rights Commission, except the area of operation, is that it can start investigation relating to the violation of human rights within the state. That is number one. Number two, you'll find it can also conduct investigation relating to the violation of human rights because of the negligence of duty by a public servant. The State Human Rights Commission has got another important power. Suppose there is information that a public servant, let us take for a police, for example, is not doing something. Suppose there is, today we are going on Dasera, for example, and the police it is the responsibility of the police that it should maintain law and order in all parts of the state. Suppose there is a likely law and order problem in Sambalpur or Jharsuguda. There is information to the public servant, the SP, for example, superintendent of police, that there are two groups in Jharsuguda or Sambalpur, and there might be a clash of interest, there might be conflict between the two, and you take care of that. Now, the superintendent of police, for example, didn't respond. He kept silent. Oh, no, 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 it is the seller. I am enjoying my life. I don't bother about that. So this is negligence of duty by a public servant. As a public servant, he was supposed to take care of the prevention of the violation of law and order problem in any part of the state. So if there is violation of this, then the State Human Rights Commission can also start investigation. Now, this matter can go to the State Human Rights Commission, and the State Human Rights Commission can look into the matter whether there is violation of human rights by a public servant, or if there is negligence of duty by a public servant, and recommend appropriate measures for its protection and promotion. So that is number two. Then you will find when you talk of the functions of the State Human Rights Commission, another important functions of the State Human Rights Commission is that, and the most important among them is that there must be the promotion of human rights literacy in the state. This function is more or less similar to that of National Human Rights Commission. You know, I have also, probably any one of you were listening to that first speech on National Human Rights Commission. You must have heard that today literacy, the concept of literacy has changed. There was a time when we were talking that literacy means just you know the alphabet, you know whatever is there, and you are literate. But today the literacy is gradually changing, and a number of things, its scope of operation is expanding and expanding. And today we call that if a person, in order to be literate, must have human rights literacy. What is human rights literacy? Human rights literacy means the people of the state, for example, in Odisha, for example, in the Odisha context, they must know that what is human rights, because that is the first thing, that first people must know that as a human being, as a the best creation of the God, in your constitution, in your legal system, you have been provided with certain rights. You have got fundamental rights, you have got a number of fundamental duties. So people must know what is human rights, and when human rights are violated, where to go? Because you know, in a state like Odisha, for example, or maybe in other parts of the country, first of all, the people, they don't know that what are the human rights. And even I was talking on that day that human rights is a growing subject, it is an emerging subject. Even today, even after so much of debate and discussion on human rights all over the world, we are not in a position to give you a particular list of human rights which we have. Even I speak so many things, but I don't know what are my human rights, and I cannot give you a list. If you ask me a question, sir, please give you a list of your all human rights, then I cannot say what are my human rights. So therefore, you know, in a country like India and in a state like Odisha, people are not aware. People, they don't know what are human rights, how many human rights they are, what is the civil rights, what is political rights, or what is social rights, or what is economic rights, or what are their cultural rights. If rights are violated, where they will go, whether there is human rights court or not, what are the mechanisms available, what are the mechanisms available in the constitution, what are the mechanisms, I will be coming later on, what are the mechanisms available in the legal system. So we are not aware. We are not aware because we don't have literacy so far as human rights is concerned. Today you will find the University Plant Commission, the central government, they are impressing upon everybody that human rights must be included in your syllabus. I am teaching you, or I am just interacting with you on human rights because the UGC or the NAC, they have pressurized your system that human rights must be included in your chapter. So therefore, you'll find today this is being taught because there is tremendous pressure from the UGC on everybody, on the university, on the government, on the school, colleges, everywhere, that human rights must be a part of the curriculum. And therefore, I am deliberating, and you are also listening. Okay, so that is another thing. So human rights literacy is must. If we want to develop, we want to have a country where people are happy, where people are educated, alert, and they are. We want that democracy has to survive. As you know, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Then there is no choice, but human rights literacy has to be must. And one of the important function of the State Human Rights Commission is that it must promote human rights literacy in the state. And therefore, you will find the State Human Rights Commission undertakes different programs, debate, discussion all over the state for educating the common men, and the common men are educating in the process. So therefore, I am not talking it more. That another important function of the State Human Rights Commission is the promotion of human rights literacy in the state. That is another important function of the State Human Rights Commission. Then coming to the next, you will find another important function of the State Human Rights Commission is to review the safeguards which are available in the constitution and also available in the legal system, and suggest some measures or recommend some measures for their effective implementation. What does it mean? It is surprising to know that I was just both the points are related actually. I was just referring that we have got a constitution. And when you talk of the constitution, you know, in the constitution, there are safeguards, there are materials available, there are provisions available in the constitution which can be used for the protection and promotion of human rights of the people of the state. For example, we have got six writs: habeas corpus, mandamus, quo warranto, certiorari, or prohibition. If your fundamental rights are violated, then you can, or for example, if your human rights is also violated, then there are mechanisms which are available in the constitution or even in the Indian Penal Code or the Criminal Procedure Code legal system, which we must take advantage of. But you know, even today, though we have got some safeguards or protection from the side of the constitution, from the side of the law, still then, people they don't take advantage of all these provisions. What is the reason? What is the reason that despite having a constitution, the longest written constitution in the world, and despite having a legal system, despite having we are having a Indian Penal Code and also Criminal Procedure Code and all that, still these provisions are not taken advantage by the common men. And you will find what is the reason. So it is one of the important function of the State Human Rights Commission to inquire into, to look into, to review, to examine that what might be the possible reasons. What might be the reasons or what might be the causes because of which the common men of the state they are not taking use of the constitutional provisions which are available for their protection and promotion of human rights. And also at the same time, there are certain legal provisions in the form of Indian Penal Code or in the form of the Criminal Procedure Code, whatever may be the case, and also the provisions are available. Still then, the common men like you and me, in case of violation of him, we don't know, first of all, what are our rights. Then secondly, even if we know that these are our rights, we don't go for that. We don't protect it. We don't promote it. we don't go to the court, or we don't take advantage of the provisions of the constitution or the provisions of the legal system so far as human rights protection and promotion is concerned. So what are the reasons? And it is the responsibility of the State Human Rights Commission to look into that, and accordingly it will make some recommendation that yes, these are the regions for which the common man of Odisha or the common man of Chhattisgarh or Bihar or for Jharkhand or for that matter in any part of the state, they are not in a position to take advantage of human rights provision. And remember, this is more or less same like that of the National Human Rights Commission. The National Human Rights Commission has also, you will find, has this function. So that is, and accordingly, the State Human Rights Commission makes recommendation for their effective implementation. What should be done? The State Human at the end, I will be pointing out that the State Human Rights Commission is a recommendatory body, and the State Human Rights Commission will make recommendations to the Vidhan Sabha or to the government, and the government will take some decision, and that has to take place at the end. So the effective implementation of all these things they have to take care of, and the State Human Rights Commission has to take care of that. Then you will find another important function of the State Human Rights Commission is the promotion of research, in the field of human rights protection and promotion. What is this? Again, probably when I was talking about the National Human Rights Commission, I have told you that one of the criteria to measure the development of a country is the emphasis on research. The developed countries of the world, they spent a lot of money on research work. So whatever research work you are doing or you are carrying out, that also indicates the level of development of a country. And you will find in India, as you know, if you have got statistics, we spend hardly 1 or 2% of our GDP so far as research work is concerned. That is the situation. Probably with the coming of Modi, it has increased to probably 3 or 4%. I don't remember exactly what is the exact percentage, but not beyond that 3 or 4. So research is very, very important. If you want to protect a human rights of the citizen, if you want to have a human rights culture in the country, if you want to have a human rights literacy in the country or the state, then research must be done. And without research, you cannot go to the bottom of the causes. Why human rights are not respected, why they are not violated, why they are not enjoyed, why even if there is provisions in the constitution, people are not taking advantage of that. In the legal system, they are not taking advantage. People are passive, they are dormant, they are not fighting for their rights. So all these are bigger issues which are to be solved, and that can only be solved by research. And this is one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission, is to promote, and of course the National Human Rights Commission also do this. They promote research in the field of human rights. For your information, if you, for example, if you want to apply, those who are after passing MA, those who will want to apply for minor project or major project, they can go for human rights research. And human rights research is popularized not only on the state level but at the central level. Now you can take a project, a minor project on human rights. You can do anything research on human rights, and money and fund will be available to you. So the State Human Rights Commission has to promote and to encourage research in the field of human rights so far as the state is concerned. So far as the Odisha State Human Rights Commission, for example, is concerned, then it will take promote research in Odisha, where the people of Odisha are either enjoying human rights or not enjoying human rights, or what is the percentage of enjoyment of human rights, and what are the reasons for enjoyment of rights, all those things. So research is a very important concept, and as I pointed out, that one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission is the promotion of research. I am not elaborating it more. Then you will find another important functions of the State Human Rights Commission is to review the factors which inhibit or which prohibit the enjoyment of human rights by the people of the state or people of the country and suggest remedial measures. This is actually a peculiar phenomenon, or this is a peculiar situation that even after so much of debate and discussion, so much of teaching, so much of books, materials, print media, electronic media, the TV, the newspapers, you, me, everybody, the universities, the colleges, the schools, everywhere you will find the NGO, everybody is busy in popularizing the concept of human rights. What are the rights available? How, where you have to go, what you have to do, you must enjoy, you are a human being, you must fight for it, you must do anything and everything for the protection of human rights. That is the message going on. But you will be surprised to know that even after so much of things being done, the people are not active. The people are not active, and they are not taking care, or they are not fighting for their protection and promotion of human rights to the extent they should fight. You may be fighting, I may be fighting, or somebody may be fighting. But if you take a percentage, or if you talk in terms of the whole country, or if you talk in terms of the whole state, for example, in Odisha, so far as State Human Rights Commission is concerned, then you will be surprised to know that a large number of people, their rights are violated daily, regularly, all the time, but still 24 into 7. But still, you will find they are not cautious, and they are not aggressive so far as their violation is concerned. What is the reason? The most important thing is, what is the reason for this type of mentality? What is the reason for having people of a particular state this type of mentality, where not to respond, not to react? There might be a number of reasons for this. For example, it may so happen that these people are uneducated, or they don't have education. Education in what? They don't have general education in specific, in general, and human rights education or human rights literacy in particular. So a person is neither educated generally or not educated in human rights culture or human rights literacy. So he is silent. Human rights is being violated, but he is not educated, first of all, generally, and also he do not have the idea of human rights literacy. He don't know, he is not aware that there is a National Human Rights Commission, there is a State Human Rights Commission, there are a human rights court, there are fundamental rights, these are my rights, what is coherento, what is writ, or what are the habeas corpus or mandamus, they don't know, he is not at all aware. So there are some factors for this. There are some reasons for this, and I referred only one reason. Education might be one of the reasons for this type of mentality. Lack of education, that means, or illiteracy might be one of the reasons for this type of mentality. Similarly, poverty can also be the reason for this type of mentality. A person is aware that is human rights, he might have some sort of human rights education, he might be literate to some extent so far as human rights is concerned, but because of poverty, he is not in a position, he don't have money, he cannot take advantage of the legal system, and he is not interested to fight back for the protection of and promotion of human rights. So therefore you will find, so that is one of the reasons for the State Human Rights Commission, that it should look into, it should review to know what are the regions. As I was talking, that yes, here region number one is illiteracy, region number two is poverty. So all these things are there. So the State Human Rights Commission has to review all these factors. And not only it has to review all these factors, it also suggests, it must suggest that what is the remedy, what should be done, or what are the available for this type of mentality. Otherwise, you will find there cannot be human rights culture in the country. So, one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission is to have this. It must review all the factors, it must analyze, it must inquire all the regions, all the factors which are responsible for the passive state so far as human rights protection and promotion of a particular state is concerned, and that the State Human Rights Commission should the State Human Rights Commission, you will find, must make accordingly a recommendation and to take some remedial measures. What are the remedies available? That is another important function of the State Human Rights Commission. Then you will find we have got another important point so far as the functions are concerned. You will find if you ask me a question and earlier, not today actually, but if you ask me 10 years back or 5 years back a question that where do the violation of human rights takes place in our country to a great extent, and my answer will be in the prison or jail you will find is a place where human rights violation takes place, was taking place actually. I don't know what is the what should I use today. What is the degree of human rights violation taking place in jail today? Because so far my knowledge goes, there is a difference between the two. Sometime back, 10 or 15 years back, when human rights culture was not there, human rights literacy was not there, or human rights awareness was not there, then there is rampant violation of the human rights of the jailers, of the prisoners. You must have heard how the first degree torture, the second degree torture, third degree torture were given to the prisoners. So it was like hell. You know, you have got a large number of Hindi films where you, or Odia film you can say, where you will find that jail has been picturized as a place of torture earlier. But today, you know, probably that is not the situation. Either you go to police station or you go to the jail, probably you get a different type of treatment. You are treated well, you are given food, you are given clothes, you are taken care of most of the time, and you are comfortable slightly you are comfortable. And of course sometime we heard the report that jailers are enjoying even AC room in some jails of the state or some jails of the country. So that is a different thing. I don't want to go into that. What is the present situation of jail? But so far as the State Human Rights Commission is concerned, we have got an idea in our country, in our society, that jail is a place where human rights violation takes place. They are tortured, they are beaten, they are not given proper treatment, and their human rights condition is very deplorable. So it is one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission to visit jail. Of course, the National Human Rights Commission has also got this power. They can go to jail, they can visit jail at any time, and they can look into the conditions of the prisoners, whether they are given food, clothes, and shelter, whether they are getting basic human rights, or if their human rights are violated, and accordingly they will take treatment or they will make recommendations to the state government, or that will the matter will come to the print media or electronic media. So the State Human Rights Commission has got an important responsibility to visit all the jails and all that, so that you will find the conditions of the prisoners comes out, and they are treated as a human being, and they are not tortured as they were earlier. And as I was telling, I partially disagree with this point actually, because today you will find, though there are some sort of problem in jail, but more or less jails have become very comfortable place today. But that is for later on to debate and discussion. Then you will find, I'm not talking this point more, that is one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission. Another important function of the State Human Rights Commission is that it encourages the NGO, non-governmental organization, to participate in human rights protection and promotion. This point is a little bit a new point. You will find today, as I know and as I pointed out most of the time, gone are those days. You cannot depend on state for anything and everything. You are living in a police state. Remember, we are more or less living in a police state. No longer we are living in a welfare state where you have to take it your birth and the state will do the rest. There was a time when in the 19th century when we were talking that a welfare state is one where the individual has to take his birth and the state will do the rest. Gone are those days. Remember, today the state is reducing, the state is withdrawing, and probably after some time, a time will come when the state will perform only police function. Today we are living in a police state, only maintenance of law and order and protection against foreign attack. Probably these two functions will be done by the state, and for every other thing, the state will withdraw. The state will no longer be interested in all everything you are getting from the state. So therefore, you cannot. We have the habit of depending everything upon the state, and gone are those days. Today, the private sector. That is my point. The private sector must come forward, and coming forward, of course, the NGO, the non-governmental organization must come forward, not only in the case of human rights, but in all parts of development, in all parts of the country, in all problems of the country, the non-governmental organizations must come forward. Otherwise, you cannot claim that we will be a developed country in future. So far as human rights is concerned, one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission is that it will promote the NGO, or it will provoke, it will instigate the NGO, it will facilitate the NGO, it will urge upon the non-governmental organization that you, or it will encourage, you can say, the non-governmental organization to go for human rights protection and promotion in a particular state. For example, how it can do? For example, you go to the Odisha, in different parts of Odisha, you will find there are a large number of human rights organizations operating at the district level. For example, I know a particular organization in Jharsuguda known as SADA. SADA is an NGO operating in the field of protection and promotion of human rights of the people of Jharsuguda. SADA. That is one of the NGO. And this NGO has got some officials, they have got a office, and they are getting money from the government, and they are carrying out some works. For example, they have got an orphan home, and if small children are moving their orphan, they are bringing those orphan, and those orphan are kept in that orphan home. This is what I know. This is what I have experienced. So the NGO must come forward, and NGO can only come forward with the encouragement of the State Human Rights Commission and supported by the state government. The state government, after the recommendation of the State Human Rights Commission, provides money sometimes to the NGO, and these NGOs, another NGO I am coming to my mind right now, ASA. ASA is another NGO in Jharsuguda which is also operating. ASA. One is SADA, the other one is ASA. So this is I am talking in the context of Jharsuguda, but in the context of whole Odisha, you will find even in the whole country a large number of NGO are operating in different parts of the state and in different parts of the country, and this is because they are encouraged by the State Human Rights Commission at the state level and the National Human Rights Commission at the central level. So that is one of the important functions of the State Human Rights Commission, you will find, to encourage the participation of NGO so far as this is concerned. Then you will find another important function of the State Human Rights Commission is to intervene in any proceedings pending before a court. This point is slightly different nature, of a different nature. What is this? Suppose there is a violation of human rights in Sambalpur or in Redakol, for example, and a case is pending before the Sambalpur District Court. There is a case relating to a violation of human rights which is pending in Sambalpur District Court, and the case has been pending for 5 years, 10 years, and there is no solution. The case is just pending before the court. In a country like India, we have got we are overburdened. Our legal system is overburdened, and therefore we don't have time, we don't have the manpower, and there is pending cases, and pending cases. But that is of an important or urgent nature. Then what can be done? In that case, what will happen? The State Human Rights Commission has got a power. And what is that power? The State Human Rights Commission has got a power to intervene in that case, and it can take, the State Human Rights Commission can intervene and ask the court to give that case or to it. So therefore, the State Human Rights Commission has got the power to intervene in any proceedings pending before a court. Equally, to human rights, these are actually, I don't know how many points I covered, maybe 8 or 9 or 10, something like that. These are the important functions. I will be ending this portion by adding one most important, not most actually, but one important function, the last one, that is, besides all these functions which I have told you or which I have referred, that these are the functions normally performed by the State Human Rights Commission of a state. But one important additional function is that the central government, in addition to all these functions which I referred to, can entrust any other function to the State Human Rights Commission so far as human rights protection and promotion is concerned. So that is another additional area or additional function which the State Human Rights Commission has to function. If the central government can entrust somewhere, for example, the central government will say that you carry out an investigation relating to this matter in your state, then the State Human Rights Commission has got no choice but to carry out this. So that is another important function so far as the Human Rights Commission are concerned, State Human Rights Commission are concerned. So I will be concluding this portion by telling that in fact you don't have major differences so far as the functions of the State Human Rights Commission and the functions of the National Human Rights Commission are concerned. The only thing that you must remember in your mind is that the State Human Rights Commission operates in a state. Its area or jurisdiction is only a state, but the National Human Rights Commission operates for the whole country. That is number one. Then I have pointed out that there are certain points or 2 points which are not included in the functions of the State Human Rights Commission, and there are functions of different nature so far as the National Human Rights Commission. I have not included all the points actually which are in the National Human Rights Commission. There are some points in the functions of the National Human Rights Commission which are not included in the functions of the State Human Rights Commission. But at the same time, I have pointed out that there are some functions, for example, promotion of literacy or review of both the factors or the jail factor I pointed out, or whatever things I intervene. These are available to both the State Human Rights Commission and the National Human Rights Commission. And one more important thing that you must remember is that the State Human Rights Commission can only perform or can only interfere in the matters which are mentioned in the state list and also in the concurrent list. That is another thing that you must remember. It cannot go into the items mentioned in the union list. I have repeated it. These are some of the basic differences so far as both the State Human Rights Commission on the one hand and the National Human Rights Commission on the other hand are concerned. So this is what is the second part I have told you. And lastly, I will be talking about the role of the State Human Rights Commission. As you know, when you talk of the National Human Rights, State Human Rights Commission, or even for that matter, when you are talking of the National Human Rights Commission, you remember, so far as the National Human Rights Commission is concerned, or the State Human Rights Commission is concerned, they are supposed to perform a very, very important role so far as the state of the nation is concerned. The State Human Rights Commission is a crucial body. It is a crucial body which has been given the responsibility of protection of human rights, and it can be done by the inquiry into the possible infringement on human rights of the people. So my point is that the State Human Rights Commission of a state, let me take in the case of Odisha, for example, that it is performing a very, very crucial role. It has been entrusted with the task of maintaining uh, the human rights situation in the state, and it is doing. And remember, in doing all these things, the State Human Rights Commission have the power of a civil court. It has the power, it enjoys the power of a civil court, and its proceedings have a judicial character. All its proceedings have a judicial character, they are of judicial nature, they are of judicial character, and it is binding. It is binding upon the parties. So that power has got with the State Human Rights Commission. Then you will find the State Human Rights Commission, after inquiry or after the analysis of violation of human rights, it can make some recommendation to the state government or particularly the Vidhan Sabha. It submits its annual report. It prepares its special reports. Remember, annual reports are prepared, special reports are prepared relating to the violation of human rights in the state. So if it is the case of Odisha, for example, annually the State Human Rights Commission has to prepare a report, and the report will talk about what is the human rights situation in the state, why the human rights are being violated, what are the reasons, what the when the number of cases are also there. They will throw light that this is case number 1 or case number 2 or case number 3 or case number 4, and in all the for the Barsa Soni case, for example, Barsa Soni case. In that case, they have gone to the court, and what is the reason. So the State Human Rights Commission has to submit annual report, and also it can submit special report. And in fact, they submit annually report, and also they submit special report in case of necessity. And after the report are submitted, you will find uh, the uh, the state government look into that. The Vidhan Sabha, actually, the state legislative assembly look into that, and it can call for taking action, and it can recommend certain things to the State Human Rights Commission. And the State Human Rights Commission, after getting all the reports and after all the feedbacks, will recommend to the government that it can go for three things. Number one, it can go for punishment, or it can go for interim leave, grant of interim leave, or it can go for, you will find another thing, immediate interim relief, or to initiate proceedings for prosecution or payment of compensation. So what the SHRC could do? The SHRC can recommend only three things, and that is the pathetic situation. I told you sometime earlier that the State Human Rights Commission is only a recommendatory body, though it possesses the power of a civil court and its proceedings are of judicial nature. But at the end of the day, what it can do is that it can only recommend. And what it can recommend? It can recommend to the government only for three things. What are they? First of all, it can recommend for prosecution. For example, in a particular case, they find that there is violation of human rights, or someone has violated human rights, or Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C responsible. It fixes the accountability or responsibility. So the government can go for punishment. The government may go for punishment. Remember, it is not binding that this whatever the State Human Rights Commission will recommend, the government will bind is binding. The government may go for recommending, do that. So it can recommend for punishment, for example. Secondly, in certain cases, it can also go for recommendation of granting of interim relief. For example, let us take there is some problem in some parts of the state. All of a sudden, some problem, human rights violation takes place, and now the State Human Rights Commission can recommend to the government that there is violation in that part of Odisha, and you please give interim relief immediately to the people. So that can be a recommendation that can be done. And of course, the most important thing that they can do is that it can also recommend for payment of compensation to a victim. If someone has become a victim of human rights violation, and that is true, at the in the state level or at the national level, Delhi we have got large number of victims, and victims are rampant. So the State Human Rights Commission has got the power, or it plays an important role in recommending that Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C should be given compensation because he is a victim of human rights violation. So remember the role that play the State Human Rights Commission, though it must play a crucial role in safeguarding the culture of human rights of a state, in fixing accountability of the state, so far as human rights are concerned, in fixing responsibility of violation of human rights of the state, so far as the state is concerned. But still then, it has, as you know, it is merely a recommendatory body. it cannot do much more things except for going for recommendation, and that also for only three things, either for a compensation or for prosecution. Sometimes also it can go for prosecution. You punish Mr. A or B for his violation of, he is guilty of violation of these rights. So it can go for that is also punishment, and also for the provision of grant of interim relief. But as I know, all these recommendations given to the government, and of course, it is the responsibility, the role of the State Human Rights Commission to submit what I can say is a memorandum of action taken. Whenever the State Human Rights Commission looks into or inquire into violation of human rights in different cases in the state, what they do is that they look into individual cases and they follow individual cases, they prepare case record, and in the case record they will give a writing in writing what they have done. So that is memorandum of action taken. That in this case we have done this 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case we have done 1, 2, 3, 4. Or in this case we have done X, Y, Z. And for example, even if they have not done anything, or even if they have not followed a particular case, then what they will do, they will be giving the reason for not following that case or non-compliance. They may say that we are not interested, or we didn't look into this case, X case or Y case, because there is nothing strong in it, or there is no truth in the violation of human rights of case X. So the State Human Rights Commission has got under the pressure of giving the memorandum of action taken or not taken, both. If they have taken, what they have done. If they have not taken, why they didn't do anything. କାହିଁକି ସେମାନେ କିଛି କଲେ ନାହିଁ. So both the State Human Rights Commission has to give in that report, and that is what they are doing. And as you know, the State Human Rights Commission also support annual report, and annual report, all these things are there. And in fact, if you look into these functions of the State Human Rights Commission and its role, the State Human Rights Commission are playing the role they can play within the limited infrastructure, within the limited, as I pointed out earlier, there are only three members of the State Human Rights Commission. The chairperson is there and two other members are there. So three members to take care of all the human rights violation of a particular state is problem. So the role of the State Human Rights Commission has to be looked into in the context of the availability of infrastructure, the availability of finance, the availability of manpower, and whatever things are actually available. So though they must play, they should play, they are playing an important role in making a human rights culture in the state. Maybe in the case of Odisha, or maybe in the case of 26 states where we have the State Human Rights Commission, all of them, they are playing an important role. But at the same time, all of them are recommendatory. The government, the NHRC, the parliament, they should rethink. They should give more money. They should give more infrastructure. They should give more manpower, because we are having short of manpower in all of them, to make the State Human Rights Commission play an important role in the Indian political system. And I hope that the National Human Rights Commission, along with the State Human Rights Commission, can make this country a beautiful country, and will go a step further so far as protection and promotion of human rights culture, and making the new India, of which you and I are waiting for, that India will become a developed country after 2047, when we reach our 100 Amrut Mahotsav. When we are reaching Amrut Mahotsav is going on, and we reach when we will be 2047, we will already be in the list of a developed state. But that has to take place only when we must recognize what are the pitfall, what are the shortcomings, what are the lacunas we are having in the State Human Rights Commission or in the National Human Rights Commission, where they are not effective, to what extent they are effective, what are the reasons for their ineffectiveness, what should be done, what should be the remedy, and that will make this country a great country. I hope I should have spoken more on role actually, but I'm looking to my watch and it is only 5:45 already. and Dasera is going on. Today is Ashtami. I know everybody must be interested in going or visiting to uncle's home. And also I will be leaving for right now. I will be leaving after some time for Sundargarh to my father-in-law house. So with these what few words, I take my seat. Now it is for Professor Mishra to, if, of course, if any one or two question, any basic clarification, then I am available. Please,
Okay,
please.
thank you, Professor Patel. I mean, the last two sentences were not required at all, but it's okay. I mean, you speak in that way. Uh, I have one or two, kind of query. The first query is that our human rights commissions are situated at the national level and at the state level. Why not at the district level? So what is the justification of situating Human Rights Commission at state and national level, not district level? This is my first query. And the
Okay.
second query is that suppose a victim is not satisfied
Okay.
with the state Human Rights Commission. So can he move to National Human Rights Commission uh, because of his or her dissatisfaction with the state Human Rights Commission? I mean, the way an individual is dissatisfied in the district court, then he appeals against the decision of the district court in the high court, and he also file complaint against the high court in the Supreme Court. Such kind of things are there in the, Human Rights Commission context.
Uh, Thank you for that. Actually, I will be answering the first question first. First come, first serve. One of the things that preventing the human rights culture in this country is that shortage of manpower. As you told, that we have got only one National Human Rights Commission sitting at New Delhi, and it is to take care of the human rights situation in all over the country. That is not possible. Only one commission having 8 members sitting at New Delhi in the AC room, they cannot take care of human rights situation in the whole country. So therefore, they thought of having some state human rights commission at the state level. But as you know, I again repeat the same sentence. One state human rights commission sitting at the state capital, they are also incapable of, I don't say incapable of, they may not take care of the human rights issues all over the state. And in fact, one of the important recommendation or one of the important shortcomings that I often used to say, that it will be better, your contention is right, it will be better if there should be human rights commission at the district level. Why should not we have district level human rights commission? And if possible, we should have subdivision level. And if possible, we should have panchayat level or block level. So there should be proliferation of more branches of the Human Rights Commission. Start let as we are having in case of block, for example, we are having district, then we are having subdivision, then we are having block, then village, and all that. Like this, in all you will find we should have the National Human Rights Commission. That should be a good suggestion. I agree to that. That if you want to have more human rights culture in the country, then that is a necessity for that, and we must go for that. Number one. Secondly,
No, let me slightly intervene. If you see the composition of Human Rights Commission at the state level and at the national level, then you can find the Chief Justice of High Court and the Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Respectively, they are the members of State Human Rights Commission and National Human Rights Commission. And who is appointing them? Right. The President is appointing in the context of National Human Rights Commission, and the Governor is appointing in the
yes.
context of State Human Rights Commission. But the moment you think about the District Human Rights Commission, then tell me who will be the chairman of District Human Rights Commission and who will appoint that chairman. Maybe because of that, uh, I mean, they are situating the Human Rights Commission at the state and national level. This is just, came to my mind, I just shared. I need a reflection.
No, no, actually, I don't think that might be a reason for that. But actually, the country right now is not prepared to proliferate the branches of Human Rights Commission to the district level even, because that will require appointment of certain judge. You know, we are having large number of pending cases. Even we don't have judges in the High Court, in the Supreme Court. Judges are not there. Their appointment is not being done. So coming to the district level, another quarter, another office, some staff, some money, some sort of finance, all those things are required. Probably the government right now is not ready for that. That might be one reason. And of course, what you are telling might also be reason how they should be appointed, who will appoint them, what are the ifs and buts of all these things. That might be reason. But as you know, this country right now is not prepared to proliferate the branch of Human Rights Commission to the district level. Okay.
Coming to my second query.
Second question you will find, when you talk of the judicial system in our country, we have got single integrated judicial system. That means when if you lose a case in the district court, you can go to the high court. When you lose a case in the high court, you can go to the Supreme Court. And that is possible because our judicial system is like a pyramid.
It is an integrated system. That's why we can appeal against one at another.
Yes, that is the point. Actually, it is a single and not only integrated system. From top to bottom,
Single.
it is like a pyramid, and we are integrated. So you can appeal, make an appeal to the top to the bottom. But this is not the case so far as Human Rights Commission is concerned. We have Human Rights Commission, we have got State Human Rights Commission, but the State Human Rights Commission functions under the care of the National Human Rights Commission, but they are not integrated. Their system of functioning and their system of functioning is different. So if you lose a case in the State Human Rights Commission, you cannot go to the State Human Rights Commission. Even if you can go in a different way. You can make a fresh case, but not the same case going from top to bottom.
Okay, so thank you very much. Two questions I can find in the chat box. I think first question does not require to be answered. The question is asked like this: does the State Human Rights Commission only investigate HR violation, I mean human right violation, or can they also punish the violators? I mean they can recommend.
They can
Can,
recommend, yes. I have, at the last part of my discussion, I pointed out they can recommend for three things to the
they are
government.
the recommendatory body.
Recommendatory, but yes,
Only the punishment can be given by the highest, I mean court,
court.
highest law of the land. On that basis, court can give the punishment to the violator. Okay, and second question is asked, would you please throw some light on the question that how can a poverty stricken fellow be able to protest and protect his or her human right as he or she is neither economically sound or educationally prosper?
You see, this is actually a good question, actually. But as you know, that has to be a priority task. I have pointed out while deliberating on functions that it is for the National Human Rights Commission or for the State Human Rights Commission. This should review the factors that how those who are poor or those who are illiterate, they are not aware of the legal provisions of or constitutional provisions which are available for the enjoyment of human rights or protection and promotion. But your question is that how a poor people or a poor people or illiterate people can fight for his or her human rights. And the answer is that it is true that poverty sometimes is one of the factors which prevents you from violating your human rights. But it is not always true. But it is not always true. Remember, you cannot say that all poor people in the country they are not protecting and promoting or they are not raising their issues for the protection and promotion of human rights. Sometimes you will find even the poor people they are very violent so far as their human rights are concerned. So poverty may sometimes be a reason for not being so much of aggressive for protection and promotion, but not always. Similarly, literacy also. You will find that most of the literate people, sometimes literate people, those who are well educated, they are also silent. For example, you look into your society. The society is rampant, witnessing rampant violation of human rights. But we have professors, we have doctors, we have engineers, well-educated people, but they are not reporting. So poverty or illiteracy is not always the problem.
Yes, sir.
And
What you are saying, look at the number of illiterate and poor people. Their number is very large. And when the large number of people they agitate, their agitation, comes before the eyes of government. And in that sense, I can say that you are also saying this, that the poor and illiterate people, they protect their human right far better than the literate people. Literate people, being in their size is very, very few, less in number. Sometimes they hesitate to protest, they become the silent spectators, right? So we cannot say that poor people and illiterate people, they cannot violate their or they cannot deal with their human right violation.
okay, I agree to you.
So I just listen your burden. So there is no other questions, and since you are busy, you have some plan to do
Yes.
very soon. So we are not taking other questions. So this is the last part of this event on behalf of all, on behalf of the Department of Political Science, Sambalpur University. I am thankful to Professor Patel and for his deliberation on this topic, State Human Rights Commission, the function and role. Another important thing is that this lecture is for our third semester student, and I can find only 12 to 13 students participated here. And the rest of the students, they were not there. It is unfortunate that when there is any kind of celebration, Nach Gana, I can find huge number of students. But when there is academic activities, I cannot find that huge students. So it speaks that education is for small number of people. If you cannot make uh, success in universalizing education, right? See, if you are not interested in education, education is also not interested in you. So this is the chaotic situation of today's environment, and we have to recover from this environment. And as the student in charge of our department, I am going to take this issue very seriously. So this is also a warning. I am giving it, and it is on the record, and I will do that. At the same time, I appreciate the involvement of Professor Patel for his deliberation. And this is the end of this event. Thank you and good night to one and all. Namaskar, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.